The night I signed the contract to sell my $480,000 house. My parents slammed me against the wall so hard my nose bled all because the money wasn't in their names. They called my bank, claiming I was mentally unstable to freeze the entire payment. I stayed silent for 14 days, gathering evidence, then chose the most crowded place to drag my entire family into the light. My name is Natalie Pierce, and I'm a 32-year-old emergency dispatcher at Westbridge Medical Center in Maple Ridge, Ohio. The evening that changed everything started like any other golden light streaming through the bay windows of my 2-story colonial on Oakwood Court. The smell of freshly cut grass from the neighbor's lawn, and the weight of a pen in my hand as I signed my name on the dotted line. Congratulations, Natalie. Reese Dalton, my real estate agent, smiled as she slid the papers across my kitchen table. $480,000. The wire should hit your account within 72 hours. I'd bought this house 5 years ago with my VA loan benefits after finishing my stint with the Army National Guard Medical Unit. Every mortgage payment, every repair, every property tax bill, all mine. Now, with night shifts piling up and a 40-minute commute each way, I needed something closer to the hospital. Simple math, simple decision. The doorbell rang at 6:45 p.m. Through the peephole, I saw my parents, Elaine and Martin Carter, standing on my porch. Mom's lipstick was perfect as always, that shade of coral she'd worn since I was 12. Dad had his hands in his pockets, that familiar stance when he wanted something. We saw Reese's car, Mom said the moment I opened the door, not waiting for an invitation before pushing past me. What's going on? I sold the house. I kept my voice steady, the way I did when talking to panicked callers. I'm moving closer to work. The transformation was instant. Dad's face went from confused to crimson. Mom's perfectly manicured nails dug into her designer purse. You did what? Dad's voice filled my foyer. Without telling us, it's my house. Dad, my name on the deed. Your house. Mom laughed, but there was no humor in it. This is the family home, our retirement plan. You ungrateful, your retirement plan. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. You haven't contributed a cent to this place. That's when Dad moved. Former high school football player, 6'2", 220 pounds. His hands grabbed my shoulders and slammed me backward into the wall. The family portrait from last Christmas crashed to the floor. My head snapped back, hitting the drywall with a crack that sent stars across my vision. That money belongs to us. His breath was hot on my face, smelling of bourbon. We raised you, fed you. This is what we get. Blood trickled from my nose onto my scrubs. Mom was at the hallway safe, trying combinations, screaming about getting the spare keys to the house. Where are they? Natalie, where are the documents? I managed to push Dad off, my EMT training kicking in despite the ringing in my ears. Get out. Both of you. Now. We're not going anywhere until you fix this, Mom hissed. She grabbed my arm, her nails leaving crescents in my skin. Call Reese. Cancel the sale. The contract is signed. The buyer's already... Dad's fist hit the wall beside my head. Drywall dust floated down like snow. Then you'll give us the money. Every penny. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone. I'm calling 911. Go ahead. Mom's voice turned ice cold. Tell them how you're stealing from your elderly parents. See who they believe. But I did call. My coworker Jennifer answered, recognized my voice immediately. Natalie, what's your emergency? I need units at my house. Domestic situation. The sirens made my parents step back. Dad straightened his polo shirt. Mom fixed her hair. By the time Officer Tanya Brooks arrived, they were the picture of concerned parents. Our daughter is having some kind of breakdown, Mom told Officer Brooks, tears appearing on cue. Selling the family home without telling anyone. We're just worried about her mental state. Officer Brooks looked at the blood on my scrubs, the hole in the wall, the broken picture frame. She'd responded to enough domestic calls to know, Ma'am, do you need medical attention? The EMTs who arrived were from my hospital. They documented everything: the swelling on my neck, the bruises forming on my shoulders, the bloody nose. I declined transport. I had a shift starting at 11 p.m. As my parents were escorted out, Mom turned back one last time. Her eyes weren't sad or angry anymore. They were something worse, calculating. "You're going to regret this, Natalie," she said quietly. "We're your parents. That money is ours by right." The door closed. I sat in my empty kitchen, holding an ice pack to my neck, staring at the signed contract that was supposed to be my fresh start. I had no idea they were just getting started. The bruises on my shoulders turned purple-black over the next 3 days, but they weren't the first marks my parents had left on me. As I sat in my car during break at 3:15 a.m., sipping lukewarm hospital coffee, memories surfaced like bodies in water. I was 15 when I first learned what family loyalty meant to Elaine and Martin Carter. The electricity had been shut off for 2 days in the middle of January. I could see my breath in my bedroom. Dad had lost another job, restructuring. He called it, and Mom's shopping addiction had maxed out the credit cards. I knew where Dad kept emergency cash in his safe, just enough for the electric bill. The moment I touched that money, trying to pay the bill myself, Dad grabbed my wrist so hard it left fingerprints. "Thief," he'd said, his voice calm and cold. "I'm raising a thief in my own house." The irony wasn't lost on me now. I was stealing my own babysitting money he'd held for safekeeping. At 22, fresh out of basic training, I'd made the mistake of trusting them with my financial information. My cousin Derek needed a car loan, and somehow my parents convinced me to co-sign. "Family helps family," Mom had said, stroking my hair. "Besides, Derek's good for it." Derek defaulted after 3 payments. The creditors came after me. $7,000 and a credit score in ruins. I worked double shifts for 8 months to pay it off while Mom posted Facebook photos of their weekend trip to Vegas. "We deserve a little fun," she'd captioned it. The church dinners were the worst. Every Sunday, Mom would stand in the fellowship hall of Maple Ridge Methodist, her arm linked through mine. "This is our house," she'd tell anyone who'd listen. "Natalie lives there now, but it's the family home. We're so proud of our investment. Our investment, our house, our money." I never corrected her, not once. Now, at 4 a.m., I pulled up my doorbell camera footage on my phone. The app had captured everything in crisp HD. There was Dad's hand shoving me backward, my body hitting the wall with an audible thud, Mom yanking at the safe handle, screaming about their money. The blood from my nose was visible even in the porch light's glare. I forwarded the file to Logan Ward, my best friend since high school who'd become a civil attorney. His response was immediate despite the hour. "Holy shit, Nat, this is assault. You need to file charges." "Just got off shift," I texted back. "Meet me at urgent care, need official documentation." Dr. Patel at MedExpress knew me from work. She photographed every bruise, documented the strain in my neck muscles, noted the dried blood still in my nasal passages. "These grip marks," she said quietly, pointing to the bruises on my upper arms. "They're textbook defensive wounds. Someone grabbed you hard enough to leave deep tissue trauma." Logan met me in the parking lot with a box of evidence bags and legal forms. "We're filing for a protective order today," he said, his usually cheerful face grim. "And I'm calling Reese. If your parents try to interfere with the sale—" "They already have." I showed him the text from Mom that had come in during my shift. "Fixed your mistake. Bank knows you're not well. Get help, sweetheart." Logan immediately called Reese while I sat in his passenger seat, exhaustion making everything feel distant and strange. The morning sun reflected off the hospital windows across the street, and I counted ambulances to stay focused. "Reese says the buyer's agent called," Logan reported. "The wire transfer is flagged for review. Someone claiming to be your mother called the bank, said you were mentally incompetent and being manipulated into selling." My hands clenched around the evidence bag holding my medical report. She used the word incompetent, among others, apparently. She also suggested you were under the influence of drugs from the hospital and shouldn't have access to large sums of money. The funny thing about working in emergency services is you learn to stay calm when your world is falling apart. Your voice stays steady while everything burns. So I didn't scream or cry. I just pulled out my notebook, the same kind I used for logging emergency calls, and started writing. "What are you doing?" Logan asked. "Making a list," I said, my pen moving steadily across the page. Every lie they've told, every document they might forge, every person they'll try to turn against me. Nat. They want a war. Logan. I looked up from my list, but they don't realize I've been trained for combat. Literal combat. And this time, I'm not 15 years old, trapped in a house with no power. I thought about all those Sunday dinners, all those times I'd stayed silent while they claimed ownership of my life, my work, my home. I know exactly how they think, I continued, and I know exactly how to stop them. Logan studied my face, then nodded slowly. All right, what's the plan? I smiled for the first time since that night. It wasn't a nice smile. First, we document everything. Then we let them think they're winning. And then, I tapped my pen against the notebook. Then we show everyone exactly who Elaine and Martin Carter really are. The call from Midwest Financial came at 9:23 a.m. on Tuesday, 4 days after the assault. I'd just finished a brutal 12-hour shift, 2 cardiac arrests and a multi-car pileup on I-70. My hands were still shaking from the adrenaline when my phone rang. "Ms. Pierce, this is Sandra from the wire transfer department. We need to discuss the hold on your incoming funds." I put her on speaker so Logan could hear. "What hold?" "We received a concerning call from someone identifying herself as Elaine Carter, your mother. She stated you were experiencing mental health issues and that this transaction might be fraudulent. She knew your social security number, date of birth, and the exact sale amount. Of course she did. She'd helped me with taxes for years until I finally cut her off. She also," Sandra continued, "faxed us what appears to be a power of attorney document, though our legal team has questions about its authenticity." Logan grabbed my phone. "This is Logan Ward, Ms. Pierce's attorney. That document is fraudulent. We'll be at your branch in an hour with police reports and documentation." But the damage was spreading faster than we could contain it. Pastor Williams called next. "Natalie, your mother is very concerned. She told the congregation you're having some kind of breakdown. Selling the family home without telling them she's asking for prayers." Then came the neighbors. Mrs. Hendrick from 2 doors down knocked while I was packing boxes, her face full of false sympathy. "Your poor parents. Elaine says you've been stealing medications from the hospital. Such a shame. Dear, addiction can happen to anyone. I've never. No need to explain to me." She patted my arm like I was contagious. "Though you might want to know she's posted about it on the neighborhood Facebook group. People are talking." I found the posts within minutes. Mom had shared a photo of me in my EMT uniform from my guard days, adding, "Please pray for our daughter. The stress of her job has led to some troubling behavior. We're trying to protect her from making devastating financial decisions while she's not herself. If you see her, please let us know. We're so worried." 67 comments. Former classmates, church members, neighbors all offering prayers and promises to keep an eye out. The violation got physical again that afternoon. I came home from the bank to find my bedroom ransacked. Nothing stolen, but very specifically searched. My filing cabinet was pried open, tax returns scattered across the floor. The folder marked House Documents was missing. They still had a key. Of course they did. Logan helped me change the locks while Officer Brooks took another report. "Your parents?" she asked, though we all knew the answer. "The security system was disarmed using the old code," I said. "Only 3 people knew it. Without proof, they entered." I know. I'd been in emergency services long enough to understand the limits of law enforcement. Just document it, please. That evening, Reese called with worse news. "There's a notary in Columbus claiming he has recent power of attorney paperwork from you. authorizing your parents to handle the sale. He contacted the buyers directly, offering to expedite things for a fee. That's fraud. Obviously, but the buyers are spooked. They're threatening to walk if this isn't resolved by Friday. I sat in my violated bedroom, surrounded by scattered papers, and felt the walls closing in. This was their pattern chaos and accusation until I gave in. It had worked when I was 15, 22, 25. But I wasn't that person anymore. Set up a meeting with this notary. I told Reese. Tell him the buyer wants to verify everything in person. Nat, I don't think. Trust me, and make sure it's somewhere public. Very public. I spent the rest of the night at my kitchen table, my dispatcher's instinct for details serving me well. I cataloged every text, every post, every voicemail. Mom had called my workplace twice, concerned about my stability. Dad had been to 3 different banks, trying to access accounts that had my Social Security number attached. The pattern was clear. Destroy my credibility, claim control through fake documents, force me to surrender the money to make it stop. At 3 a.m., sitting in my empty house with boxes stacked against the walls, I opened my laptop and began typing. Evidence log, case number 1, fraud attempt via Western Union Notary Services. By dawn, I had 43 pages of documentation: financial fraud, defamation, breaking and entering, assault. Years of smaller incidents suddenly formed a clear picture when laid out chronologically. Logan reviewed it over coffee at 6:30 a.m. Whistling low. This is comprehensive. It's not enough, I said. They've spent 32 years building their reputation as devoted parents. I need more than paperwork. What you need, Logan said slowly, is for them to confess, publicly, on record. I thought about Mom's perfect coral lipstick, Dad's politician's smile at church functions. Their greatest weapon and their greatest weakness, the need to be seen as perfect parents, perfect Christians, perfect victims. Then that's what we'll give them, I said. A stage. Logan raised an eyebrow. The church is having their annual fundraising fair this Saturday at the community center, I explained. 500 people, local press. The mayor gives a speech. Mom and Dad never miss it. They run the silent auction table. You want to confront them at a church fair? No. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the notary's contact information. I want them to destroy themselves at a church fair, in front of everyone who's been reading Mom's Facebook posts about her poor, unstable daughter. The disinfectant smell from my scrubs mixed with the coffee aroma, a combination that always meant another shift survived, another crisis managed. This time, the crisis was my own, and I was done letting other people control the narrative. The plan crystallized at 4:17 On Thursday, while I monitored emergency frequencies during a rare quiet spell at work, every piece had to move perfectly, like coordinating multiple ambulances to a mass casualty scene. No room for error. My objectives were simple: secure my money and expose my parents' lies to the community they'd manipulated. But the execution would require military precision, fortunately. The Guard had trained me well for operational planning. Logan arrived at my house at 7 a.m. with a box of legal documents and a digital recorder. Filed the DVPO paperwork yesterday, he said, spreading papers across my kitchen counter. Judge Hernandez wants to see us Monday, but we can get a temporary order if we show immediate danger. Saturday, I said. Everything happens Saturday at the fair. That's 2 days away? Exactly. I pulled out my dispatcher's notebook, now repurposed as a tactical planning guide. Here's what we need first: the bank's fraud investigation team. Sandra from Midwest Financial already has Mom's recorded call. I want them to preserve it and generate a transcript. Logan nodded, taking notes on his tablet. Done. What else? Officer Brooks. She'll be working security at the fair, she always does. I want her aware, but not obviously involved. I checked off another item. The notary, what's his name? Frank Russo. Operates out of a strip mall in Columbus. Reese is going to contact him as the buyer's agent. Tell him they want to verify the power of attorney in person before proceeding. Saturday, 2 p.m. at the community center. That's during the fair? Precisely. Maximum witnesses. I turned to the next page. I've already arranged my shift schedule. Told my supervisor I needed Saturday off for a family emergency, which isn't technically a lie. Logan leaned back, studying me. This is elaborate. This is necessary. I showed him my phone's 17 missed calls from unknown numbers, all traced back to collection agencies. Dad's been calling creditors, claiming identity theft on accounts that were closed years ago. He's trying to tank my credit before the sale completes. And Mom. I pulled up the latest Facebook post. She's now suggesting I've been forging their signatures on documents. The irony is impressive. The damage is real. 3 coworkers have asked if I'm okay. My supervisor pulled me aside yesterday to discuss our employee assistance program for substance abuse. We spent the next 2 hours preparing. Logan drafted cease and desist letters while I compiled evidence files. Everything needed to be organized, accessible, and legally bulletproof. At noon, I had an appointment with the bank's fraud investigation unit. The officer, Marcus Webb, had seen plenty of family financial abuse, but even he seemed shocked by the scope. Your mother called 4 times, he said, reviewing his notes. Each story slightly different. First, you were mentally ill. Then, possibly on drugs. The 3rd call claimed elder abuse. The 4th suggested you were being controlled by a boyfriend, someone named Logan Ward. My attorney, I clarified, gesturing to Logan. She provided your social security number, your previous addresses going back 10 years, and details about your work schedule. Marcus pulled up an audio file. We record all fraud reports. Would you like to hear it? Mom's voice filled the small office. My daughter isn't capable of making these decisions. She's been unstable since her military service. PTSD, you understand? We're her caregivers. Really. That money should be in a trust we manage. My hands clenched, but I kept my expression neutral. Emergency dispatcher calm. We'll provide a full report for your attorney, Marcus said, and we've unfrozen the transfer, pending verification of identity. Can you come in Saturday to complete the process? 2:30 p.m., I suggested. I have a family matter to resolve first. The next stop was technological. My friend Jamie from IT at the hospital helped me set up recording equipment, a body camera disguised as a pin on my jacket, a voice recorder in my purse, and a backup on my phone. Expecting trouble? Jamie asked. Expecting truth, I replied. Friday night. I couldn't sleep. I walked through my empty house, boxes stacked in every room, and thought about what I was about to do. Destroy my parents' reputation. End any possibility of reconciliation. Become the ungrateful daughter they'd always accused me of being. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, but I recognized Dad's writing style. Last chance to do the right thing. Family protects family. I thought about all the times family had meant staying silent. Family meant accepting blame. Family meant paying their debts, hiding their violence, enabling their lies. I texted back, yes, it does. Then I blocked the number and returned to my planning. The community center layout was burned into my memory from years of church events. Main entrance, side doors, emergency exits. The auction tables would be in the northwest corner, perfect sightlines from the main stage. The church's AV system would be running for the mayor's speech. Projector and screen already set up. I made 3 copies of my evidence file. 1 for Officer Brooks, 1 for Logan, 1 for the court, the doorbell camera footage, the medical reports, the bank recordings, everything chronicling not just this week's assault, but years of financial and emotional abuse. At 11:58 p.m. on Friday, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of cold coffee and reviewed the plan one more time. In 38 hours, everything would change. Either I'd free myself from Elaine and Martin Carter's control, or I'd lose everything: my money, my reputation, my career. My phone showed 3 new messages from church members, all variations of praying for your family during this difficult time. They had no idea how difficult it was about to become. I opened my laptop and typed one final document, a truth I'd never spoken aloud, never even written in my private journals. A single page that began, "My name is Natalie Pierce, and my parents have been stealing from me since I was 15 years old." The truth, ready to be revealed in front of 500 witnesses, local press, and the mayor of Maple Ridge, in front of the community that had believed every lie. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. Saturday arrived with the kind of brilliant Ohio sunshine that made everything look blessed. The Maple Ridge Community Center buzzed with preparation for the annual fair by 8 a.m. I watched from my car as Mom directed volunteers at the auction table, her coral lipstick perfect, her laugh carrying across the parking lot. At 11:45 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "We've fixed everything. Sweetheart, the bank understands now. Come to the fair tonight and we'll discuss this like a family." Fixed everything. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. She thought she'd won. Logan met me at a coffee shop 2 blocks away at noon. "Russo confirmed he'll be there," he said. 2 p.m. sharp. Reese told him the buyers want to verify the power of attorney in person. And he bought it, hook, line, and sinker. He even bragged about his special relationship with your parents, how they promised him a bonus for expediting things. Officer Brooks texted at 12:30 p.m. On site, plainclothes near the main stage. Backup available if needed. I activated my body camera at 1:40 p.m., the tiny device hidden in my hospital badge that I'd pinned to my blazer. The voice recorder in my purse was already running. My phone, set to record, rested in my chest pocket. The community center was packed. The mayor stood near the podium, practicing his speech. Local news had sent a reporter to cover the feel-good story of the church's biggest fundraiser. 500 people milled about, bidding on auction items, buying raffle tickets, eating pulled pork sandwiches. And there, at the prominent auction table, sat my parents. Mom saw me first. Her face lit up with triumph. "Natalie, you came to your senses." "We need to talk," I said, loud enough for nearby people to hear. "About the house sale?" Dad stood, his chest puffed out. "Finally, we have a meeting with someone at 2 to fix your mess." "I know about Frank Russo," I said calmly. Mom's smile flickered but held. "Who?" "The notary you hired to forge power of attorney documents." "I don't know what you're talking about." But her hand moved to her purse, where I could see the edge of paperwork. Right on cue. Frank Russo appeared a thin man in an ill-fitting suit, carrying a briefcase. He walked directly to our table, hand extended to Dad. "Mr. Carter, ready to finalize everything." "I don't believe we've met," I said pleasantly. Russo barely glanced at me. "I'm handling the paperwork for your parents. The power of attorney you signed." "When did I sign this?" "Last month." He pulled out a document with theatrical flair. "Notarized and witnessed." Logan stepped forward, recording everything on his phone. "I'm Logan Ward, Ms. Pierce's attorney. Can you tell me where this signing took place?" "My office in Columbus." Russo was starting to sweat. "Though I might have the date wrong." "Because Natalie was on duty at the hospital that entire week," Logan continued. "We have her time cards," Mom intervened, her voice honey-sweet for the growing audience. "There must be some confusion. Natalie's been under so much stress." "The only confusion," I said, pulling out my phone, "is why you told Midwest Financial that I was mentally incompetent." So, I hit play on the bank's recording. Mom's voice filled the space. "My daughter isn't capable of making these decisions. She's been unstable since her military service. PTSD, you understand." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Pastor Williams stepped closer, his face troubled. "That's taken out of context," Dad said loudly. "We were protecting her. From my own money, I pulled up the next file. Like you protected me when you slammed me into a wall." The doorbell camera footage played on my phone screen. Logan held it up so others could see Dad shoving me, my head hitting the wall, blood visible as I staggered. "Natalie, please," Mom hissed, her public mask cracking. Not here. Why not here? You told everyone here that I was a drug addict, that I was stealing from the hospital. I gestured to the crowd. These people deserve to know who they're supporting. Russo tried to back away, but Officer Brooks had materialized behind him. Sir, I need to see that notary stamp. It's legitimate. But his hands shook as he opened his briefcase. Strange, I said, pulling out my own documents. Because here's the termination of the only valid power of attorney I ever signed 8 years ago, filed with the state, copied to the county clerk. Logan held up the official papers. Any power of attorney Mr. Russo notarized would be fraudulent. That's a felony. The briefcase slipped from Russo's hands, papers scattering. Mom lunged for them, grabbing what she could. This is a misunderstanding. Is that why you broke into my house? I asked. Looking for documents to forge. We have a key. It's our right as parents, to steal from me. My voice carried clearly through the hushed crowd. Like when I was 15 and you took my babysitting money, or when I was 22 and you destroyed my credit. Dad's face was purple now. You ungrateful. He reached for me. Stop. Officer Brooks stepped between us. Sir, I need you to step back. She's our daughter, Mom shrieked. Her perfect composure finally shattered. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. That money is ours. We deserve it after everything we've done. Everything you've done. I pulled free, my voice steady despite my racing heart. You mean the abuse, the theft, the lies. Mom raised her hand to slap me, forgetting the hundreds of witnesses, the cameras, the reporter. Officer Brooks caught her wrist. That's assault, Brooks said. Ma'am, I need you to calm down. Arrest her, Mom pointed at me. She's stealing from us. The house is in my name, I said clearly. Bought with my VA loan, paid for with my work. You contributed nothing but pain. The crowd was dead silent now. The mayor had stopped practicing his speech. The reporter was recording everything. Mom looked around wildly, seeing disgust and shock on faces that had once offered sympathy. We're her parents, she said desperately. Children owe their parents nothing, I finished. Children owe abusive parents nothing. The silence in the community center was deafening. 500 pairs of eyes watched as my carefully constructed plan reached its crescendo. I walked to the AV system where the mayor's presentation laptop sat open, already connected to the projector. What are you doing? Dad lunged forward, but 2 more officers had appeared, keeping him back. Showing everyone the truth. I inserted my USB drive, my hands steady from years of managing crisis calls. The screen flickered to life behind me, a 40-foot display no one could ignore. The first image, my doorbell camera footage, crystal clear. Dad's hands on my shoulders. The slam against the wall. My head snapping back. Blood. That's edited, Mom screamed. She's lying. The next slide, medical records. Dr. Patel's documentation appeared in clinical detail. Deep tissue trauma consistent with forceful gripping, cervical strain from impact, nasal bleeding from trauma. Gasps echoed through the hall. Mrs. Hendrick, who'd believed Mom's addiction story, covered her mouth in horror. Let me share something, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the wireless mic I'd grabbed from the podium. These are the bank's fraud investigation records. The screen showed Marcus Webb's official report. Each of Mom's calls transcribed, timestamps included. The lies evolved with each attempt: mental illness, drug addiction, elder abuse, undue influence. 4 different stories, I pointed out. Which one was true? Mom. Her face had gone pale beneath the coral lipstick. You don't understand the full situation. Then explain it. I clicked to the next slide, a police report from 7 years ago. Explain why you claimed someone stole your credit cards when it was actually you who maxed them out at the casino. I paid that debt to protect your reputation. Logan stepped forward with a folder. I have 15 years of documentation here. Financial fraud, identity theft, physical assault, all perpetrated by Elaine and Martin Carter against their daughter. She owes us. Dad finally exploded, forgetting his audience. We gave her life, fed her, housed her. Every penny she makes belongs to us by right. The reporter stepped closer, her camera capturing every word. By right, I pulled up the next document. Like when you took out credit cards in my name when I was 19, or when you filed a false insurance claim saying I'd damaged your car, then pocketed the money. Pastor Williams moved toward the microphone. Perhaps we should... No. I turned to him. They've hidden behind this church's reputation for years. These people deserve the truth. I clicked again. Screenshots of Mom's Facebook posts filled the screen. Her lies about my mental state, my alleged addiction, her claims of elder abuse, all dated and time-stamped. While she was posting these, I said, I was working 12-hour shifts, saving lives. Check the dates against my work records also on screen. I was literally performing CPR on a child when she posted that I was home, threatening them. The crowd's murmur grew louder. Someone shouted, "Shame." Mom grabbed the microphone from my hand. We're good people, Christians. We've donated to this church for 20 years. With what money? I asked loudly. You haven't worked in 5 years. Mom, Dad's been unemployed for 3. Where did those donations come from? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. They came from me. I answered for her. The monthly loans you never paid back. The emergencies that happened every time I got a bonus. The guilt trips about being a bad daughter if I didn't help. I turned back to the screen, clicking to a video file. This is from Tuesday. Mom called my supervisor. Mom's recorded voice filled the space. I'm concerned my daughter is stealing medications. She's been acting erratically. Perhaps you should check your inventory. Reese stepped out of the crowd. I can confirm that Mr. and Mrs. Carter attempted to interfere with a legal real estate transaction through fraud and intimidation. Marcus Webb from the bank appeared beside her. Midwest Financial has documented evidence of attempted wire fraud and identity theft. Frank Russo, still cornered by Officer Brooks, cracked. They paid me $5,000, said their daughter was trying to cut them out of their rightful inheritance. I thought I was helping. $5,000 you got from where? I asked my parents. Mom's hands twisted her designer purse, the same purse she'd bought last month while claiming they couldn't afford groceries. From the emergency fund, Dad admitted through gritted teeth. Our emergency fund. The one in my father's old safe. I pulled up a photo on screen, the same safe from when I was 15. The safe you accused me of robbing when I tried to pay the electric bill. I clicked one more time. A bank statement appeared. This is the account that emergency fund came from. Opened in my name when I was 17. Funded entirely by my military bonuses and combat pay. You've been stealing from me for 15 years. The screen showed withdrawal after withdrawal, all authorized with a forged signature. That's our money, Mom shrieked, her mask completely gone. She grabbed my arm again, shaking me. You lived under our roof. Everything you earned belonged to us. That's how families work. No, Officer Brooks said, pulling her away. That's how theft works. Elaine Carter, you're under arrest for assault. And fraud, another officer added, moving toward Dad. Martin Carter, you're under arrest for assault and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. As the handcuffs clicked, Mom made one last desperate attempt. She's lying. Everyone here knows us. We're good people. Tell them, Pastor Williams. The pastor stepped back, shaking his head. I've seen the evidence, Elaine. After everything we've done for this church, with stolen money, I said quietly. Every donation, every tithe stolen from your daughter. The crowd parted as my parents were led toward the exit. Mom twisted to look back at me. Her perfect makeup streaked with tears of rage, not remorse. You've destroyed this family, she screamed. No, I said, my voice steady and clear. I've freed myself from it. The community center doors closed behind them. 500 witnesses stood in stunned silence. The mayor cleared his throat, unsure whether to proceed with his speech. The reporter rushed toward me, questions ready. But I wasn't done. I turned back to the microphone for one final statement. I'm sorry you all had to witness this, but I'm not sorry for defending myself. If anyone here is in a similar situation, financial abuse is real, family abuse is real, and you don't have to suffer in silence. I pulled out my phone, showing one final image on the screen, the sold sign on my house. The sale went through yesterday. The wire transfer is secure, and for the first time in my life, my money is actually mine. The whirlwind after the arrests moved with the precision of a trauma response team. Within minutes, the community center became a crime scene. Officer Brooks read my parents their rights while 2 additional units arrived for transport. The reporter fired questions that I deflected to Logan, who gave measured legal statements while I focused on what came next. Marcus Webb from Midwest Financial approached with his tablet. Ms. Pierce, given the circumstances, we can complete the wire transfer verification here. I have all the necessary documents. We commandeered a quiet corner table while the fair dissolved into chaos around us. My hands were steady as I signed, years of emergency training overriding any emotional response. Behind us, I could hear the prosecutor who'd arrived with the second wave of officers. Mr. Russo, the prosecutor said to the terrified notary, "You're looking at felony fraud charges. Your cooperation would be beneficial." Russo sang like a canary. They contacted me 3 weeks ago, said their daughter was mentally impaired from PTSD, showed me fake medical documents. They promised $10,000 if I could get control of the house sale proceeds. Fake medical documents. The prosecutor's interest sharpened. Letterhead from Westbridge Medical Center. Psychiatric evaluation claiming she was incompetent. I looked up from the wire transfer forms. They forged documents from my own workplace. Logan immediately texted someone on his phone. That's identity theft, forgery, and impersonating medical professionals. Federal crimes. Marcus Webb pulled up additional recordings on his tablet. We have 3 more calls we haven't played yet. Your mother claimed to be a licensed psychiatrist in the second one, said she'd been treating you privately. The violations kept stacking like trauma codes, each one more critical than the last. At 2:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with the notification I'd been waiting for. Wire transfer complete. $480,000 available. But the investigation was just gaining momentum. The prosecutor, Janet Reeves, had set up an impromptu interview station near the stage. She motioned me over. Ms. Pierce, we found something interesting in your mother's purse. She held up evidence bags containing multiple documents deeds, bank statements, investment accounts, all in my name, all showing assets I'd never known existed. What are those? Appears your parents have been opening accounts in your name for years. This investment account alone shows $40,000 in deposits and withdrawals over the past decade. Logan whistled low. That's extensive fraud. It gets worse, Prosecutor Reeves continued. The psychiatric evaluation Mr. Russo mentioned, we found the original on your father's phone. They paid someone called Dr. Mitchell to create it, except there's no Dr. Mitchell licensed in Ohio. I sank into a folding chair, the weight of years of deception crashing down. How long have they been planning this, based on the emails we're seeing? Since you announced you were selling the house 6 weeks ago. She showed me a screenshot. They've been systematically trying to establish grounds for conservatorship. If you hadn't acted today, they would have owned me, I finished. The sound of commotion drew our attention. Mom was being escorted past in handcuffs, and she'd spotted Mrs. Hendrick in the crowd. Martha, tell them what a good mother I've been, how we sacrificed everything for her. Mrs. Hendrick turned away. Mom's voice rose to a shriek. You've known us for 20 years. You know we're good people. I know you lied to me. Mrs. Hendrick replied quietly. About the drugs, about the mental illness. That poor girl. The facade Mom had spent decades building crumbled in real time. Church members who'd offered prayers now whispered among themselves. The auction table volunteers packed up the items my parents had been managing, probably purchased with stolen funds too. Dad maintained his silence until he passed me. Then, in a voice low enough that only I and the nearest officer could hear, "You think you've won. We're your parents. We'll get out. And when we do, you'll violate the protective order I'm filing Monday," I said calmly, "and go right back to jail." His face contorted with rage, but the officers kept moving him toward the exit. Frank Russo, now eager to cooperate, had opened his briefcase for the prosecutor. "They gave me cash payments, always cash. Said they'd handle everything once they got the house money." "They had plans flights booked to Costa Rica for next week." "They were going to run?" Logan asked. "With my $480,000, I said. "Leave the country and leave me to deal with the debts they've accumulated in my name." The prosecutor nodded. "We'll need all your financial records, Ms. Pierce. Every account, every credit report, everything from the last 15 years? "I have it all documented." I pulled out the USB drive I'd prepared. Every theft, every fraud, every forged signature, 15 years of evidence. Reese appeared with a locksmith. "The closing is complete, but given the circumstances, I thought you might want your locks changed immediately. Both houses, the one you're selling and your new apartment?" "Both. They had keys to your new place too. The super at your apartment complex said your mother was there yesterday, claimed to be helping you move." The violations kept multiplying. Every safeguard I thought I had, they'd already breached. Marcus Webb finished his documentation. "The bank will be pursuing separate charges for the wire fraud attempt. With the prosecutor's evidence and our recordings, they're looking at federal charges on top of the state ones." By 4 p.m., the community center was nearly empty except for law enforcement and witnesses giving statements. I sat at the same table where my parents had planned to publicly maintain their loving parent facade, watching as crime scene photographers documented everything. Logan sat beside me, reviewing his phone. 16 counts of fraud so far, 4 counts of assault over the years, based on your medical records, identity theft, conspiracy, attempted grand larceny. Your parents are looking at serious time." "Good," I said, and meant it. Pastor Williams approached hesitantly. "Natalie, I'm sorry. We should have seen the signs." "They were good at hiding them," I said. "That's what abusers do." As the sun began to set through the community center windows, painting everything in gold light that felt like freedom, Prosecutor Reeves returned with final documents. "The judge has issued an emergency protective order. Your parents will be held without bail until the hearing Monday. Given the flight risk and the extent of the fraud, they'll likely remain in custody until trial." I signed where she indicated, each signature a step toward freedom. "One more thing," she added, pulling out an evidence bag. "We found this in your mother's purse." Inside was a key. My new apartment key, the one that had gone missing from my purse at the hospital 2 days ago. She stole it from my work locker, I realized. "Add breaking and entering to the charges," the prosecutor said, making another note. As I stood to leave, Officer Brooks approached. "You did good today, Natalie. That took courage." "It took planning," I corrected, "and finally being done with their abuse." I walked out of the community center into the Ohio evening, my phone showing the beautiful balance in my account, $480,000. My money, my freedom, my life finally beginning at 32, free from the people who'd claimed ownership of me since birth. Behind me, sirens wailed as the transport vehicles carried my parents to county lockup. Justice sounded exactly like I'd imagined. Monday morning arrived crisp and clear, the kind of October day that made Ohio feel like a fresh start. I stood outside the courthouse at 8:45 a.m., wearing my best suit, the one I'd bought for military ceremonies, pressed sharp enough to cut glass. Logan stood beside me, briefcase in hand, while Prosecutor Reeves reviewed her notes one final time. "Ready?" Logan asked. "I've been ready for 17 years," I replied. The courtroom was fuller than expected. Word had spread through Maple Ridge like wildfire. Church members, neighbors, co-workers from the hospital all here to witness the conclusion of the Carter family drama. My parents entered in orange jumpsuits and shackles, a far cry from their Sunday best. Mom's coral lipstick was gone, her face pale and drawn. Dad's shoulders, usually squared with false authority, slumped in defeat. They wouldn't look at me. Judge Patricia Hernandez presided, her reputation for no-nonsense justice preceding her. She reviewed the charges, 23 counts between them, ranging from assault to federal wire fraud. This is one of the most extensive cases of parental financial abuse I've seen in my 20 years on the bench, she began. The evidence is overwhelming and disturbing. Prosecutor Reeves presented everything methodically. The doorbell footage played on the courtroom screen. The bank recordings echoed through the speakers. Frank Russo testified via video link, having already pled guilty in exchange for testimony. Then came the forensic accountant's report. Over 15 years, the accountant testified. Elaine and Martin Carter stole approximately $312,000 from their daughter through various fraudulent means. Gasps filled the courtroom. Even I hadn't known the total. This includes forged checks, unauthorized credit cards, fraudulent loans, and diverted military benefits. She continued. They systematically drained every resource Ms. Pierce accumulated while maintaining a facade of parental concern. Mom finally broke her silence. She owes us, we're her parents. Judge Hernandez's gavel cracked. Mrs. Carter, you'll have your chance to speak at sentencing. For now, remain silent. My testimony came next. For 40 minutes, I detailed years of abuse, theft, and manipulation. I kept my voice steady, professional, the same tone I used for emergency calls. Just facts, just truth. The night they assaulted me, I concluded, wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of a lifetime of believing they owned me. Today, I'm asking the court to ensure they never have that power again. The judge nodded, then turned to my parents' public defender. Does the defense have anything to add? My clients maintain they were entitled to support from their daughter, the lawyer said weakly. Entitled, Judge Hernandez repeated, her voice sharp. Let me be clear, parents are not entitled to steal from, assault, or defraud their adult children. Ever. She reviewed the emergency protective order, then made it permanent no contact for 5 years, renewable if necessary. The criminal charges would proceed to trial, but bail was denied. The defendants have shown clear intent to flee, evidenced by tickets to Costa Rica and systematic liquidation of assets. The judge stated, they will remain in custody pending trial. Then came the civil matter. My lawyer had filed for immediate restitution. Given the evidence of ongoing fraud and the attempt to steal the proceeds from Ms. Pierce's home sale, Judge Hernandez ruled, I'm ordering an immediate freeze on all assets belonging to Elaine and Martin Carter. Further, I'm granting Ms. Pierce's motion for expedited restitution. The defendants will be required to repay the full $312,000, plus interest and damages. We don't have that kind of money, Dad finally erupted. Then you'll work to pay it back. The judge replied coldly, wage garnishment, asset liquidation, whatever it takes. You stole from your daughter for 15 years. You'll spend however long it takes making it right. She turned to me. Ms. Pierce, is there anything else you'd like to say? I stood looking directly at my parents for the first time since the fair. For 32 years, you told me that family meant sacrifice. That love meant giving everything and expecting nothing. You were right about one thing, family does mean sacrifice. But it was never supposed to be my sacrifice alone. Mom's face crumpled, but not with remorse, with rage that her control was finally, completely broken. This court finds sufficient evidence to proceed with all criminal charges, Judge Hernandez announced. Trial is set for January 15th. The defendants will remain in custody. The permanent protective order is effective immediately. The gavel came down with finality. As the bailiffs led my parents away, Mom turned one last time. You'll regret this when we're gone. No, I said quietly. I'll be free. The courtroom doors closed behind them, the last time I'd ever have to see them if I chose. Outside, the October sun felt warmer than it had in years. My phone showed multiple messages, coworkers offering support, neighbors apologizing for believing the lies, even Mrs. Hendrick asking if I needed anything. Logan clapped me on the shoulder. How does it feel? Like I can finally breathe, I said. Prosecutor Reeves joined us on the courthouse steps. With the evidence we have, they're looking at 15 to 20 years, maybe more with federal charges included. Good, I said, and meant it with every fiber of my being. I drove to my new apartment near the hospital, boxes still stacked in corners but already feeling more like home than any place I'd shared with them. The wire transfer money sat safely in my account, my future, my security, my freedom. That evening, I returned to work for my 11 p.m. shift. My supervisor had moved me to dispatch coordinator, a promotion I'd earned but never felt worthy of until now. As I settled into my station, headset on, ready to help others through their worst moments, I realized something profound. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight, no debts that weren't mine, no lies to maintain, no violence to hide. Just me, Natalie Pierce, finally free at 32. The first call came in at 11:15 p.m. A car accident on Route 42. I dispatched units with calm efficiency, my voice steady and sure. In the background, I heard my coworker Jennifer tell someone, "That's Natalie. She's the strongest person I know." She was right. I was strong enough to survive them, strong enough to expose them, strong enough to build a life from the ashes of their destruction. The courthouse doors had closed on Elaine and Martin Carter at 9:37 in spam, the metal locks clicking with finality. My real life began at that exact moment. Thank you all for listening to my story. I'd love to know where in the world you're hearing this from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your own experiences and perspectives mean everything to this community. Stay strong, and remember you deserve freedom from anyone who claims to own you, regardless of who they are.